So welcome Bois Forte band members to the 2021 State of the Band Address. My name is Robbie Goggleye, Executive Director at Bois Forte. We'll start with Chairwoman Chavers with her address and the financial and the division director's update will follow, and we hope you enjoy it. Stay safe. So with that, turning it over to Cathy Chavers, Chairwoman.
Bonjour, Cathy Chavers, Indigenous Cause Ogama. I am Cathy Chavers, Tribal Chair for the Bois Forte Band, also President of the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe. As always, I'm very honored and humbled to speak to you today and welcome you to the Bois Forte Band of Chippewa's annual State of the Band Address. As we all know, this year's address to our nation is very different from years past, and basically it's due to the pandemic and the COVID-19 virus, which consumed majority of the year, 9 months that we're reporting on. But we felt this would be the best and safest way for us to present this important annual update to our people. The annual reporting period for this fiscal year 2020 is from the time period of October 1, 2019 up to September 30, 2020. It is a time for us to reflect not only on the past fiscal year, but what direction we as a band together will be heading. It's very difficult to do a report when your major focus is on the pandemic. So 9 months, like I said, out of the year will be focused on the pandemic, but we did get some business done beginning of the year and also during the year. So we'll try to update you on that as much as possible. And as I've mentioned in our previous addresses to the band, this path throughout the years by all of our tribal leaders, not just those of us today, to get where we are, is just continuously growing and progressing. Not just for us living today, but for one of our most precious and important resources, our children and their children to come, the next 7 generations. This path and our future vision of where we want to be and where we want to go is a working effort every day by the Tribal Council, by the government employees, by local, state, and federal agencies, legislators, but more importantly, it is and should be driven by our band members. We are more accountable and transparent than in the past. We've had that opportunity to do that through social media and the upgrade in technology. We have made the Bois Forte Reservation stronger with our sovereignty in all areas of government, but as always, there is still room to improve. There's always room to improve. Our fiscal year started out quite normal, as usual. The one major change that we feel is needed, and this will be an ongoing change, is not quite visible yet to our band members, but is in the process of being implemented. It is the need to change our old ways of conducting business. When most things go the same way all the time and nothing changes, and we become very complacent in our jobs. This is what is happening within the tribal government programs. We continue to have the same problems year after year after year with no resolve. Just an excuse is basically what we say. And in my expression, we're using Band-Aids rather than fixing the problem. So we want to change that in the years to come. And you'll see in the upcoming few years now, it's going to take a step-by-step process, and it may be slow, but we ask that you be patient. To make that change, though, we began early in our fiscal year to hold community meetings in Nett Lake and Vermilion on the following issues. The Nett Lake C-Store. What are the needs of the people in the community of Nett Lake for the C-Store? Why is it operating in the red? And what do we need to do to improve it? We need to hear from the community what those needs are. We also had a community meeting on our sex offender registry and our sex offender program. We did halt our sex offender resolution, making sex offenders not able to live within certain areas, just due to a fact that we need to hear from the community what their feelings are with regards to the different levels of sex offenders in our community. And also a community meeting we had with our Nett Lake School Board and Superintendent. This was regarding low enrollment numbers within our K-6 school, and how do we get our people back and our families back to the reservation so that we can make sure that our schools have the amount of children they need for their enrollment. We need economic development, we need housing. There's a lot of issues that address this, but we need to hear from the community, how do we get there together? We are also moving forward with the Nett River Dam project. We have obtained funding and have had an engineering feasibility study completed. And we've also, as a tribal council and the DNR department, along with our DNR director, Geshick, and Chris Holm, our biologist, we went down to southern Minnesota and viewed rock arch bridges. And basically, or rock arch dams, I should say. Basically, this is the type of dam that we will be looking at for Net River, and hopefully looking for funding to obtain that type of dam. Because it's better for the fish ladder, and it's all natural, and we feel that that would be the best way to go for Bois Forte. So we are working on the Net River Dam, and we're looking at the rock arch dams. We did pass a resolution and modified our compact with the Indian Health Service to open our medical, dental clinics and pharmacies to our employees and the general public without services to our own people being impacted. Every day there are numbers taken, and every month there are the numbers taken to show that we are not allowing non-tribal members to take the place of tribal members for their services at our clinics. Our utmost priority is tribal members, our band members, to have those services, and it will continue to be so. So we are monitoring those numbers very closely, and we want to ensure you that that won't happen, where those services will never be available to our tribal members and band members. Our jail agreement with St. Louis County still remains unfinished. It is at the Bureau of Indian Affairs and has been there. It's just a matter of terminology, I believe, but we are going on year 5 of this jail agreement with St. Louis County. So this hopefully will help, once we get it in place, hopefully soon, to have our prisoners taken to St. Louis County and Hibbing in Virginia rather than into the county where they're going now. Our MCT land transfer bill is now on hold again, due to in light to the pandemic that has happened. But also it was put on hold due to a concern by the White Earth tribe, which we hope to address in this coming year and hopefully get put through for legislation so that the MCT bands can get their land back rather than have it be in the name of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. The new updated, but not in its entirety, tribal code was passed and adopted along with the new Bois Forte Code of Ethics. And the Bois Forte Code of Ethics hasn't been updated since its implementation in 1987. We had a group of band members that put together that code, and it's now passed where the Code of Ethics addresses only Code of Ethics issues with the tribal council. Other issues, if it's dealing with staff, go through our personnel policies. The Bois Forte Code of Ethics has some the Bois Forte Tribal Code also has some issues that still need to be resolved, but those will be hopefully done in the near future with regards to sentencing amounts and that type of thing, and adding of some different codes for like domestic violence, kind of just tweaking it a little bit with modern terminology and what have you. This year we've also implemented our new website. It's been launched, but it's still in its infancy stages, along with our Facebook page. So eventually, we've been really trying to update this website and get it going. Of course, the pandemic has placed some bumps in the road for that, because we're trying to get information out regarding the pandemic. But our new website we're very pleased with, and it looks great. Go on boisforte.com and you'll get to see it. Well then, in December we started hearing a little rumbling about a virus that began as a small international problem, and I believe it was in December, but soon overtook the entire world and all Native communities extremely hard. Our normal world and our normal way of doing things, even simple things such as just visiting, going to basketball games, going to school, going to work, hugging, meetings, going to a restaurant, everything came to an abrupt halt. We enacted our Tribal Emergency Response Committee, or we call it our TERC committee, to begin implementing our emergency preparedness services. The beginning of 2020 saw all tribal leaders in Minnesota having daily calls to assist the pandemic's impact on our communities and their communities, but also to share their ideas, thoughts, programs to assist us in keeping our communities and band members safe. Important collaborations and partnerships were implemented through telephone calls and later Zoom calls or virtual calls with our Governor Walz, and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, along with our representatives and senators, Senator Smith, Senator Klobuchar, and Representative Stauber's offices, and their liaisons. And it was with all 11 tribal leaders to discuss our tribal needs individually and collaboratively together. All 3 levels of government working together, and we know for a fact that no other states and tribes accomplished this. So on these calls, you had federal, state, and tribal officials meeting to discuss our needs. Bois Forte also received a $1 million one-time funding with no restrictions attached to it, presented by the governor's office and passed by the Minnesota legislature to help the tribes. I want to personally and humbly thank, on behalf of Bois Forte, Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, Senator Tina Smith, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Representative Pete Stauber, and their staff for our unique relationship and partnership and assistance with dealing with this pandemic. Even to this day, we're still meeting. Maybe not on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. And we really appreciate that because like we've always said, we're very unique in Minnesota here and we have great relationships and we are Minnesota One. Our normal way of implementing programs and services came to an end as they used to be delivered to everyone in our communities and even our band members off the reservation. We had to redetermine quickly how to ensure our community, especially our elders and those with underlying chronic health conditions, band members, all Bois Forte staff to include our businesses as well, were going to be safe. We were still able to operate and provide necessities and services to our people during this difficult time. In March, by resolution, we declared a state of emergency due to the pandemic. We also went to our first phase of travel restrictions, implementing the red zone to help deter the spread of the virus, hoping it would never make it to Bois Forte. We closed all offices to the general public and established by appointment only for services or to come get their, for example, their license plate stamps. Sadly, we also voluntarily and temporarily closed Fortune Bay Resort Casino on March 18th. The tribes decided this on their own as a group when they were going to close their casinos. We discussed it amongst the tribes and we wanted to do our part to help curb the virus. These decisions were difficult, but we needed to ensure the safety of all and a less possible way to spread this virus. We implemented the stay home and stay safe in April to encourage band members to only go out of their homes for their essential needs. This is still in place to this day because this virus has gone on for such a long time that we didn't anticipate, and we want everybody to be safe. Common items were also very difficult to obtain. You couldn't, who would have thought? You couldn't get toilet paper, you couldn't get Clorox wipes, you couldn't get bleach, you couldn't even find material to make masks or elastic to hold the masks in. Plexiglass for our businesses and our buildings, many more items. And terminology came to the forefront also. Masking, hand sanitizers, social distancing, working from home, distance learning, hybrid models. All these terms and everything is brand new, but now it's common because it's been going on for so long. These unprecedented times also brought our staff community, outside communities off the reservation, and volunteers as a bright shining moment in this dark, dismal time. Non-Bois Forte tribal members volunteering in the cities, 5 ladies making masks in our urban area and are still doing that to this day. Local towns donating homemade masks, the town of Little Fork. Thank you very much for those masks. A farmer from southern Minnesota donating potatoes to all the Minnesota Chippewa tribes. Mille Lacs donating hams to Bois Forte. Grand Portage donating fish. Everybody donating all over to help each other during this difficult time. This pandemic has really made it a time when everybody needs to come together no matter what. We all need to conquer this virus and survive and take care of everyone, each other and ourselves. We also developed different ways of implementing our programs and services. We had elder pen pals for those elders isolating in their homes so people could have contact with them and write them letters so they had something to look forward to. We encouraged staff to call them. We did daily checks when needed. If they were sick, they were to call. We had staff that would go out and give information door to door to our communities so that we were getting that information out so they knew what was going on within our own communities. We were packaging and distributing food boxes and necessities to on and off reservation band members. And it took a team effort, and we have a great team here, and we really want to say thank you to them for that. Our staff and staff that we hired to help do this for our band members. It's just wonderful to see that all come together during other things that we need to talk about. The CARES Act also came from the federal government with U.S. Treasury funding for the tribes across the country. There were strict related restrictions attached to this money. Bois Forte received $6.8 million for COVID relief under the U.S. Treasury. We implemented a large number of programs and funding to help address the band, tribal members, and urban offices' greatest needs. The Tribal Council also did not garnish any per capitas this year, as we have in years past for past due bills or for not paying accounts, to help every family out during this difficult time. Kim Greiner, our Chief Financial Officer, will be giving a total report of what programs were funded and the dollars spent with our CARES Act Treasury funds in this State of the Band. And also to follow will be the council members' speeches and each of our directors giving an oral report on their programs for the first time ever by video, because I feel it's necessary that our people see our directors and our people that are providing these services, and also to hear from them personally what they've done this past year to help. Our COVID numbers fluctuated. Today, right now, as of today, the State of Band, Bois Forte has had 47 active cases total since the beginning of the pandemic. And that's really a small number compared to the number of cases within the state of Minnesota. But we've done a very diligent job, and we want to thank our community for taking the time, making the effort, masking up, social distancing, and following the guidelines and safety protocols. We couldn't have done it without our community. Tribal elections were also held, but were also delayed because of our pandemic. And our general election, which is usually held in June, was held in August. Our primaries were held in June because we weren't ready for the general election like we should have been with regards to the pandemic. How are people going to vote? How are these things going to be accomplished? The banks were closed, notaries were not available, so it was very difficult. But anyway, the elections were held, and as you know, in August, myself and Travis Morrison, District 1 representative, each retained our respective offices. We did a quiet ceremony at the courthouse and took our oath of office at that time. No big hoopla, no big events, just due to the pandemic. As I've said, our normal way of doing things has changed drastically and dramatically. Also during this past year, which I will tell you, 2020 was one of the worst years ever, not only due to the pandemic, but also because it included another term now more commonly used, and that's systemic racism. George Floyd was unjustly killed in Minneapolis, and riots began, and other racial tensions transpired. This was not only in Minnesota, but across the country. These events have brought the racial inequities that not only affect Black lives, but affect all lives, including tribal lives, Native lives. We know as a people that we are extremely underfunded in every aspect under our treaty agreements with the federal government and their inability to fund us for those inequities. We lead highest in the nation with health disparities, especially in our area. Highest rates of diabetes, highest rates of cancer, highest rates of alcoholism, highest rates of incarcerated men and women in the state. We have the numbers and the facts, but we don't have the funding. So, with that, we're hoping that in 2021, it'll be a better year for Natives. With the new election being held and a new president and new vice president, which is a woman of color. that will be the highest year, I think, for us to make some progress. It also led, the systemic racism too, also led to the Washington Redskins finally changing their name. This has been on the radar for tribes for many years. And because of the systemic racism that is now evident throughout this country, I'm sure there'll be many, many more changes to come in the future, finally. We as a tribe will also be moving forward to make differences that will not only improve and enhance our ability to serve our band members, because we are currently in the process and have been, with the help of technology upgrades, to begin looking differently at the past, current, and future needs of the tribe. The pandemic brought I always say the only good thing that came out of this pandemic, and I can be quoted as saying this, I don't know for how many months now. The only thing that came good out of this pandemic was that technology was in the back of our minds. Yeah, we need to do it. Yeah, we need to do it. But technology really came to the forefront because we have to do it. In order to communicate with people, in order to have our meetings, in order to have contacts with legislatures and the federal and the state agencies, in order to get business done, we needed technology. Right now, we even are in the process, we have virtual notaries. We can do virtual notaries now where you don't have to be in person per se, but we've done a lot of upgrades here at Bois Forte with regards to technology, which we extremely badly needed. And so we're very happy with that. Now the availability of a vaccine to combat this deadly enemy will take time, but eventually we will overcome this. Native American people have always survived, and we are strong and resilient, and have been for many, many years, hundreds of years. We will do everything possible to ensure that once we get more and more vaccine, that all families and band members who want the vaccines will be able to get it. We must stay positive though and help each other out and be patient. Eventually, I hope that things will get back to a new normal, whatever that may be, but it sure as heck will be better than what we're doing now. Not being able to see people, not being able to visit, not being able to attend funerals, nothing like that. We hope it'll be a better day. As I come to a close, I want not only me, but all of you out there to take the time to say thank you to our healthcare workers who are putting themselves on the front line of this pandemic. A little 2 words of thank you will go a long way. I also want to say Chimigwich to our Gichida, our warriors at home and abroad, our medicine men, our spiritual advisor, Mr. Gene Goodsky, and other tribal spiritual advisors, along with our ambulance, fire, essential workers, tribal government, business staff, store employees, volunteers, and many, many others that I may not have mentioned. With this pandemic, it has, though, also given us an opportunity to use technology to expand our language and our culture. Through some of our programs, we've had the Grandfather 7 teachings on virtual Zoom or whatever. And then we've also had Gene Goodsky doing Thursdays with talking about the culture of the language. So we've been doing that. So by what I meant by technology coming to the forefront for Bois Forte, it's really great that we've been able to do that. And that's ways that we can do that and enhance those issues that face us today, because we can't have teachings together until this pandemic is over. Last but not least, and it was very hard this year and very difficult because we lost a lot of people. And we as Native people have a tendency or have the caring aspect within ourselves. We want to be there to be helpful when people are sick. We want to be there to be helpful when people have passed on. We want to be there when our relatives go to the ER to see how things are going. But we have lost family, friends, and coworkers and others not only to the virus, but those who have gone on to the spirit world this past year. Our culture is one where we help each other at a time of need. Maybe by bringing food, maybe by just talking, maybe by having a cup of coffee. When someone is sick in the ER, in the hospital, and even after they're passing, to help comfort and sometimes just to give a hug. And as you all know, I'm a hugger. We weren't able to do this past year. So before I end, I would like to take a moment of silence in honor of those who have lost their lives this past year and those who have gone about it alone in that hospital bed or have had to not have family around them. So please take a moment of silence. Miigwech. Miigwech. The main thing I want to say as I end my speech today is that our state of the band is strong. We are going to be strong, we're resilient, we will get through this together, but we must do it all together. We can't be negative, we must work together with everybody, off reservation, on reservation. Encourage those to get the vaccine. I know there's those out there that don't want the vaccine, but please, if you can, get the vaccine so we know that you're going to be safe. I know there's reservations about it because it was tested so quickly, but we're trying our best, and we have the vaccines available in Nett Lake and Vermilion. We also want to take this opportunity to say that we are working at the future for Bois Forte. We're looking at our jobs training. We're looking at our career workforce development program. We're looking at our accounting department. We're looking at different various aspects on ways we can improve through housing. Like I said, we've put Band-Aids on these things, and now the time has come where we really need to do the surgery and take care of the problem. So with that, we hope to get those all addressed and answered. And I can't stress to you how important it is for all of our band members to get their addresses updated. When we sent out the package of wild rice along with the sage and the cedar and the sema, a lot of people didn't have their addresses updated. It's extremely important for you to get your addresses updated and keep them updated, because we may need to get a hold of you. Things may happen quickly, and please, we need those addresses updated. It's of the utmost importance. We hope that times will get better. We know they will, but we also know that it's going to be a rough road. We hope we don't lose any more people. We have lost some tribal members to the COVID virus, not on the reservation, but off the reservation. We want our children to be safe in our schools, in our Head Starts and our daycares. We want everybody to be safe. We want to be able to go out and visit like we used to. And so with that, I wish you and your families to stay safe. Please wear your masks, social distance, and lastly, wash your hands and avoid large gatherings. We will get through this together, and that's the only way we will get through this together. Not apart, but together, working together, and being patient. So with this, I say, Chi Miigwech, Giga Wabamin, have a good day. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Bois Forte State of the Band. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, we had to change in many ways that we have done things in the past. The State of the Band was something that we all looked forward to in the past. It was a time when we had a chance to see all our band members together at a happy and relaxed event. A time when people who lived off the reservation came home and were able to hear and see firsthand of the progress being made on our own reservation. It is with regret that we had to change this event to an online event, but the decision was made with everyone's health and safety in mind. Hopefully we can go back to the in-person State of the Band in 2022 as our country works to gain control in the treatment of the coronavirus. Early this year, an attempt to reduce the curve in the pandemic so as not to overwhelm the healthcare system. Federal, state, and tribal governments were closed, as were restaurants, bars. Tribes agreed with this plan, and not only to close their offices, but to close their casinos as well. The closure to Fortune Bay had a huge impact on the staff and distributions made to the reservation. The tribal council decided to try and retain as many employees along with their benefits as possible. This was done with the assistance from tribal government funds and payroll protection programs. Minnesota tribes each received a $1 million from the state of Minnesota to assist with financial impact of the casino closings. Funds were used to pay the minimal required staff at the casino, health insurance to those staff that were placed on layoff status, casino utilities, and debt service. The remaining funds were used for reservation programs that normally would receive distributions from the casino to continue operating. Programs such as water and sewer program, solid waste and housing. The U.S. Treasury Fund under the CARES Act were made available to tribes nationwide. Tribes did not receive the same amount of money as others because it was allocated based on enrollment numbers, the number of reservation population, and financial data. There was some money set aside for the Alaskan Native Corporation. If it is determined that they are not eligible for this treasury funds, that money will be redistributed to the tribes. So there may be additional funds coming from that. The U.S. Treasury funds that were left up to each tribe on how best to meet the needs of their community based on guidelines that they set, such as is the funding necessary due to the pandemic. The money will be used for something that the tribe didn't already have funding for and could be spent by December 31st, 2020. As time went on, new rules were added which made it more difficult to spend money. Congress recognized this problem and has now extended the deadline to December 31st, 2021. At Bois Forte, the Council has chosen to develop a plan along with Senior Management and Tribal Emergency Response Committee for those funds. The Tribal Council selects projects from the plan and along with the Tribal Attorney makes a decision on what projects are eligible before it being implemented. Each project has to be documented and officially approved in the event of an audit. As stated earlier, the deadline for spending of these funds has been extended and the Tribal Council and staff will continue to develop projects in the coming year. One of these projects already implemented is the Stay Home, Stay Safe program, a program that purchased equipment for the elders to help them stay safe at their home. A big change in the way we conduct business. Many of our meetings now held virtually has resulted in less travel. Because much of our business is now technical, it has become apparent that we need to improve internet services. We lost our tribal attorney, Mark Anderson, who was a proud member of the Bois Forte band. We miss him greatly and all the knowledge and history that he had. It has been my pleasure to work with the rest of the Tribal Council members. Together we have made tough decisions and together we have worked to make a positive change that affects you as band members. Miigwech and stay safe.
Hi, I'm Travis Morrison. I'm one of your District 1 representatives for the Bois Forte Tribal Council. I'd like to welcome you. We are doing things a little different this year because of the COVID pandemic. We've had a very challenging year, but along with those challenges, we were able to see where we have strengths and weaknesses in our tribal government, and of course we are addressing those. I'm not going to do a large report because there's a lot of other directors and councilmen that are going to say the same thing. I'd like to introduce you guys to Robbie Goggleye. He's our new executive director. He's a homegrown guy. He's lived here for a long time, found his way up the ranks, made it up to the executive director position. He's doing a very good job. So with that, I'll just say thank you.
Bonjour, Shane Indigenous cause. I take it to them, I'm Caribou Clan. Namin went down, Ayanama, Nungum. I'm happy to be here today. On behalf of the Tribal Council and myself, I'd like to welcome you all to the 2021 Bois Forte State of the Band. It is an honor and privilege to talk with you as your District 1 representative. I know the pandemic has been very hard on us all. We cannot gather with family and friends. I know, it's painful. We cannot gather as a community or as a tribe. With this pandemic, I have seen our community, our tribe, and our band members pull together. Band members willing to go shopping for other band members. Band members willing to help each other out in time of need. That really hit home, made me feel good. Band members wearing their masks, washing their hands, using social distancing, keeping our community and fellow band members safe. That's what it's all about. I'm looking forward to when we can gather together as a community, as a tribe. I'm looking forward to when we can gather for our ceremonies, for our powwows, for our family reunions, to see familiar faces and make new friends. We have taken steps to build financial reserves, but then the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic is over, we need to continue to build financial reserves for our tribal government, health department, and also our casino. We need to continue to minimize the amount of money our current businesses lose. We also need to create new businesses that will generate monies for the tribe. We need to start preparing for the future. We can never lose sight of that. Before I close, I would like to thank the following departments: our accounting department, public works, IT, tribal court, career development, DNR, Big Woods Transit, human resources, health and human services, housing, the Duluth Urban Office, the Twin Cities Urban Office, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Heritage Museum, the Nut Lake Sea Store, the Wise Store, our fire department, ambulance service, Head Start and daycare centers, KBFT Radio, WLY Radio, Fortune Bay Resort Casino, the Ledge, and the Wilderness. I would also like to say chibi glutch to Louise and Ed for all their hard work on the 2021 State of the Band. Please forgive me if I forgot to mention anyone. That's not my intentions. I would also like to say thank you to all the band members for all the sacrifices that you have made during this pandemic. In closing, please remember to wash your hands, wear your mask, and use social distancing. On behalf of the Tribal Council and myself, we sincerely hope that you continue to enjoy the rest of the 2021 State of the Band. Mio, Miigwech.
Bonjour. Wanted to say welcome to the 2020-21 State of the Band. I'd like to thank everybody for their time watching the videos. We have different this year than it has been in the past, some of which is we have to do it this way. I just had a couple comments I'd like to make. One is please stay safe. Keep going with the masks, social distancing, and checking on your elders. Very important. One of the things I'd like to ask is that people take the time to call your loved ones. Give them a call, please. People suffer. People are hurting. It's a time to be strong. I think we've made it this year. It's been a good year. We're struggling, but at the same time, we've made some good advances in some of our programs, and we've learned a lot. We've come a long ways. Again, please take care of your family and stay safe. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to the Bois Forte State of the Band. My name is Kim Greiner, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council. I'm going to be talking about the fiscal year 2020 for the Bois Forte Band. We will be concentrating on all the resources to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and the U.S. Treasury funds. First, I'd like to talk about the accounting staff. We have several staff members, as you can see listed, but I would like to point out that we have numerous new staff. So we have Andrea Sokolowski as a program accountant, Darren Dunkley as a program accountant, Aaron Morrison is now the accounting supervisor, Mary Bardo has rejoined us in accounting as the payroll clerk, Steph Myers is an accounts payable clerk, Viola Connor is an accounts payable clerk, Nikki Irving has rejoined us in accounting as the accounting clerk for travel and other assignments. Bridget Villebrin has moved from accounts payable clerk to the purchasing agent. And Tammy Strong has moved from accounts payable to the accounting specialist, accounts receivable. And we also have one temporary worker at the end of fiscal year 2020, and that's Gabby King to assist with processing all the paperwork for the COVID-19 response in all our programs. One notable thing is Sue Ronkanen has retired from our department in July of 2020 after working for Bois Forte for nearly 23 years. So I'm going to talk a little bit about things in our department in general and how things have grown. So programs or funds that we have, grants, however you wish to refer to them, has grown by 15%, and we've had 44 new programs, and a majority of them are due to all the funding coming out for COVID. Along with that, there's the line item accounts are all the accounts on our system. We have 6,161 accounts, which is a 6% increase over the prior year. Accounts payable and travel checks have had a 19% increase, so we have processed 9,704 checks during the fiscal year. And this is largely due to the COVID response. We have a tax credit 1 program, and that had seen an increase in checks of 35% to 54 checks. We have tax credit 2, which has had an increase of 8 checks to 49. And also we've added tax credit 3 to our responsibilities in accounting. Tax credit 3 had previously been accounted for by D.W. Jones. Also added to our responsibility is the New Moon Housing Project, which also was under management of D.W. Jones and accounted for there. These 2 programs had transferred at the end of August, and in September we had not wrote any checks at that time. We have another entity called the Bois Forte Community Redevelopment Corporation, and that is up by 11 checks, and that we have written 42 checks there. Normally we would have rice buying checks that we issued, but the last 2 years we have transitioned to paying cash to the rice pickers to facilitate more purchase of green rice and to make it easier for band members that come to pick rice. Per capita checks are up by 121 checks to 3,577. During the year, sometimes people lose their checks and misplace them, or they need to be reissued because they had expired. So it's up slightly, so it is not all. We have 121 new band members. Other things that we have done is the RTC and ambulance payroll. This past year we have added ambulance personnel to our payroll versus paying them an accounts payable check. And we have decreased our checks slightly by 127 because it is more combined and more efficient processing. Also during the year, the credit union had merged with the Embarrassed Federal Credit Union, and we have to, as of January, we no longer process the credit union checks. Heritage Center checks are up slightly as they have, we're not staffed for a while over in 2019, and now we have 2 staff and they have increased benefits, so the number of checks are up. Cash receipts are also up. These are cash receipts are checks that come to us to be coded and deposited, and that is up by 1,713. That's up 16%, and that also has tied into the COVID response. Journal voucher entries as the date if I did this report is down, but we are working on closing out the program still for fiscal year 2020, which is quite a bit of work left to be due because of all the extra grants due to COVID. Purchase order numbers are slightly down, which this kind of surprised me as I had expected it to be up because of COVID. But at the time of this report ending September 30th, we had not started the Safe Shelter program yet. Payroll transactions are also up, and that's because we've added departments for more efficient reporting for health, so the number of accounts we charge to has increased. Bank accounts are up by 6, so we have a total of 58 bank accounts that we account for to meet all the requirements of our funding and agreements. The 6 accounts were added were 3 for the new moon and 3 for tax credit 3. Our accounts receivable customer count is down by 30 as we have continued to work on cleaning up accounts, and people have been paying, so they do not currently have open accounts. And as technology advances, more things are done through electronic fund transfers as coming in for payments. And for 2020, we are up to 3,922 receipts through electronic fund transfers, and that's an increase of 1,784 or 83%. So some major accomplishments and changes in accounting. The biggest thing is we changed accounting firms in 2020 to start with the 2019 audit from RSM to Shecker, Dot & Cantor. Employees are now 100% direct deposit. So all employees that work for Bois Forte, their checks are now direct deposited. Also, all travel reimbursement and advances are also 100% direct deposited. We are accounting for 40 different sources for the response to the pandemic. The Northern Eagle Federal Credit Union merger to Embarrass Federal Credit Union means slightly less work for us as we no longer process their payroll per the agreement. We've taken over the accounting for the New Moon housing from D.W. Jones. We've taken over the accounting for Tax Credit 3 project from D.W. Jones. We've developed processes for electronic documentation workflow through DocuSign. And so there's much more efficiency in paying your bills or receiving purchase orders. 9 of our 15 positions have new employees during the fiscal year. Also during this time, half of staff worked as remote workers since April to provide social distancing in preparation, if needed, to report to the office if the others are unable to due to COVID. Goals for fiscal year 2021 and beyond is to catch up on the backlog of work due to the primary focus on COVID grants and requirements. We'd like to continue to expand our electronic record storage and eventually move away from all paper records. We want to continue to improve workflow for electronic documents with DocuSign and the addition of Laserfiche to be coming soon. I would like to begin searching for new accounting software in the planning stages to implement for the beginning of fiscal year 2023 with a new software program. Continue to work a succession planning by recruiting a new program accountant trainee. We'd like to evaluate indirect cost methodologies and make recommendation, if necessary, to the Tribal Council for implementation of a possible new method. We'd like to implement credit card processing for all programs that have customers to make payments easier and online for those who wish to make payments that way. We'd also like to start a test program for a limited number of direct deposits for per capita. We need to work out our processing issues and timelines. The goal is to offer to all band members by the 2022 per capita. So our major focus in accounting was the response to COVID and accounting for all the available resources. So the resources available for COVID-19 response were for the tribal government had received 39 grants or allotments from various funding sources and able to utilize the tax credits for the Family First Leave. For the enterprises, they had 3 payroll protection loans, which are forgivable. They also were able to utilize the tax credits for family first leave. And for the community, they had food distributions from AEOA and the Northern Lakes Food Bank. But also many surrounding communities helped out with other donations, such as donations of masks, potatoes, hams. Okay, so the first list I have here is we're gonna go through the list of all the programs that we received for resources. So we received BIA CARES Act funding in for $1,037,523. This was used to build a storage and food building and purchase the ICWA software for case management and telemarketing. The next one we had was the MDHCICT grant, which was for salaries for community staff doing case investigations and contract tracing duties, laptops for 2 RNs doing CICT, supplies to complete the CICT duties. The next grant we had was the Minnesota COVID-19 Support Services grant, which was salaries for staff in the clinic responding to COVID. So it's nurse practitioner, lab techs, and medical assistants. And purchased disinfectant sprayer for Vermilion and in the food shelf in Net Lake, UV lights for EMS, boxes to distribute to households in isolation or give out at the food shelf, cleaning boxes, personal care boxes, medicine boxes, food, mostly meat, and beds if a COVID-19 house has members sharing a bed. We have a COVID-19 vaccine children's grant, and that's dollars is to be used for mailings for both individuals and mass notification for PPE cost and supplies. The Blandon Foundation gave us $50,000 to purchase 500 boxes that were distributed out to all on-reservation households, some households in quarantine and isolation if they were in need, and off-reservation band members at 3 different pickup locations. We also used the portion to pay the elder frozen meals and 3 extra frozen meals a week for 120 elders living on the reservation. Next, we have the GLITC Saving Lives Project, and this was salaries for the PIO and some of the legal expenses to draft COVID policies and to notify the public of public information related to the COVID pandemic. Next, we have the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program, more commonly known as CHAP. This was for rent payments, mortgage payments, homeowner associations dues, contract for deed payments, homeowners insurance, utility payments, manufactured home lot rent, manufactured home payment, or other housing related payments with the due date of March 1st, 2020 and later that is past due. And there was an income guideline with that also. This served numerous members of the community and surrounding areas. Next, we have the AIC COVID-19 food grant, and they purchased 725 boxes from ACO and Duluth supporting native farmers and producers, which were given out 2 boxes each on reservation households, and the remainder were given to employees. We purchased 335 $50 food cards from Zoops that will be given out, 1 to each person on the reservation household in January, and the rest will be given out at the food shelf. Here is the picture of the new food shelf storage building from the outside, and here's a picture of the inside of preparing to set up the food shelf. Here's the picture of one of the electrostatic sprayers that were used to sanitize work areas. Next, we have the COVID response grant, and this is for supplies and sanitizing equipment for the ambulance. Next, we have the Family Violence CARES Act. This was for providing temporary housing assistance to supportive services to victims, families, domestic and dating violence in response to the coronavirus public health emergency. Next, we have the CSBG CARES Act funding. This is to provide services to help elders in use. This grant also helps with car repairs and housing rental needs. It can be used to help with technology, tablets, and internet, and we can also help with transportation such as bicycles, bike helmets, locks, permits, in order to help their commutes to retain their jobs. Childcare is also something that qualifies under this grant. Next, we have the MDH COVID-19 preparation and response. This was used to pay for some of the salaries of community health staff responding to COVID, purchase of PPE and supplies needed to respond to COVID. Next, we have the CDC COVID-19 preparation and response. This was used by the clinic to purchase 2 new EKG machines for both clinics, 1 X-ray machine or washer and dryer due to additional laundry with COVID-19, along with PPE and supplies. Next, the Head Start COVID-19 funding. This program purchased PPE, portable hand washing sinks, hand disinfecting station, bus sanitizing sprayers, classroom sanitation sprayers, home kits for the children and parents, and outdoor tents for enrolling children and celebrating Head Start graduations and ceremony. The next one is the Early Childhood COVID funding, and this was similar to the Head Start one, but this one was used to purchase PPE and portable hand washing sinks, hand disinfecting stations, bus sanitation sprayers, classroom sanitizing sprayers, home kits for the children and parents, outdoor tents for enrolling children. We also used money to pay for substitutes in the classroom. And here's a picture of the EKG machine, and then also a picture of one of the drive-up testing structures in portable offices. Next, we have the CCDF COVID-19 aid. This was to purchase PPE for staff as well as cleaning and disinfecting supplies for the program. Purchase supplies for distance learning, also used for operating expenses to continue during COVID-19. Next, we have health services, which received additional funds for contract support costs. Health services also received specific money for COVID testing. They also received money for COVID testing and programs, and the clinics used this to purchase the other X-ray machine for the other clinic, car testing devices, spirometers, AED machines, and additional safety equipment for dental, autoclaves, eyewear, and ultrasuction machines. Also received from Indian Health Services was additional funds for purchase referred care, and this is for additional costs for staff that, or for patients that have care outside of our clinics, and we have to cover by purchase referred care specifically related to COVID. Next, we have the IHS PPP HCEA, and the clinic used this dollars to purchase trailers and shelters to be set up for the COVID drive-up testing, along with testing equipment, PPE, supplies, and testing kits. They also paid for some of the staffing of the people working on the testing during this time. Here we have pictures of the new NetLake registration desks as you come in to help promote social distancing and HIPAA privacy. Here we have pictures of the expansion of the Vermilion Pharmacy. This is out of the HHS stimulus funds. This was to assist with, because they were out of space when they were certified. They only had 1 square foot of extra space, and due to COVID and the possibility of additional medications and storage, it needed to be expanded to better serve the community. Also, here we have pictures of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Minnesota food grant. We have the kids packing healthy food to send home to families while they were home. So the next line item we have is the MCT BIA JAG COVID-19 grant. The funds were used for this for the 7 automated external defibrillators, AEDs, for the police squad cars, and replace a washer and dryer and purchase cleaning supplies. The Boys and Girls Club of Minnesota COVID food grant was used for a food bag program for club members in the community to take home bags of food each week, and also to purchase 2 Suburbans for the Boys and Girls Club sites, and purchase diapers, pull-ups, and wipes for the community members, and pay for salary in the education department who helped roll out these programs. Next, we have the emergency response grant, which was for hygiene and sanitation supplies and hotel vouchers. Next, we have the COVID emergency fund, which funds were used to purchase additional PPE for the ambulance, community health, and medical clinics. Next, we had the elder crisis funding from the Northland Foundation. The Northland Foundation amount was $60,000 were used to pay for replacement of cooks at the ENP, as our current cooks had to stay home per their funding agreements, and provide 1 month of elder frozen meals, 3 extra frozen meals per week for 120 elders living on the reservation. We got a second elder crisis funding also from the Northland Foundation, which was used to pay for the additional extended time for the replacement cooks, and 1 month of frozen meals for 3 extra meals per week for 120 elders living on the reservation. We also had the MSFP grant, which was infrastructure for food bank and expenses to get the food shelf up and running. Also additional fridge and freezers in Vermilion, and purchase food for the food bank. So here's a picture of the elder meals, and here's 2 of our replacement cooks getting meals out to the elders. Also, here's the picture of the commercial dishwasher and the commercial freezer that was purchased for Vermilion. And here's a picture of the AEDs and the washer and dryers that were purchased with the MCT BIA-J grant for the law enforcement. Next, we have another MSFP grant, and this is for a mobile food shelf, which should be up and running within the next couple of months. Next is the CARES Act Title VI grant, which was to purchase a portion of the elder frozen meals, the new dishwasher, and Vermilion ENP. Next, we received a donation from Enbridge, and this was to purchase an emergency management storage trailer to respond to emergencies and to transport food as needed in supplies. Next is the CPB grant, which is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and due to the COVID-19, fundings for salary for the KBF radio station was not available. This funding was used to pay for KBFT employee salaries to keep the radio station running to provide critical COVID-19 information to the community. Next is another Boys and Girls Club grant and it's the short-term COVID grant, and this grant was used to create a second round of laptops for Boys and Girls Club, new backpacks for club members filled with wireless headphones, snacks, school supplies, masks, and more. The program also helped in the salaries of the education department. Next is the Tribal Nations grant from the state of Minnesota. Of this grant, $441,217.20 was given to Fortune Bay to assist with costs while they were actually closed and before they received their PPP loan. Balances went to the water, sewer, solid waste, and housing programs due to the funding reductions from Fortune Bay and reduced payments from customer accounts. The next grant we have is the Title VI COVID grant, Health and Human Services. It was $28,920 for a freezer for Vermilion ENP, food packaging supplies, new food delivery trays and plastic sealants, kitchen supplies, new microwave for Vermilion, elder replacement cooks, and additional frozen meals. The next item is the CARES Act funding, or the U.S. Treasury CARES Act funding. There is numerous projects and as programs out of this one, and that is in my next section that we will talk about this separately. Here is a picture of the staff packing the backpacks for the Boys and Girls Club and the completed packages and some delivery to some excited students. Next, we had the Transit COVID grant from the Federal Highway Administration. It purchased cleaning supplies for buses and supplemental drivers for salaries that did not get full salary. We also received HUD COVID-19 funding that we use for tiny homes. We utilize this funds for the costs associated with the construction, installation of 3 one-bedroom isolate and quarantine units to mitigate and stop the spread of COVID-19. And the last resource that we received was the Family First Retention Credits, and this is for the credits received from second and third quarter of 2020, and it's reimbursement for limited wages and benefits for employees that are approved for Family First leave. And the cost of those employees for that specific leave time is charged here. And we have not filed our report yet for the fourth quarter, which is where the majority of the costs were. Here are pictures of the isolation units for the tiny homes with the HUD CARES Act. So this is one of the houses being set, and then the one on the right is the house out on Indian Point. The next section here is Bois Forte Enterprises. They have received the payroll protection program for Fortune Bay, and this was used to pay employees wages and benefits during the time while they were closed and business was slow, to retain employees. They also get the Family First Retention Credit for employees that were also on the Family First leave. The Y Store also had the payroll protection program, as did the C Store, and then also the Y Store, the C Store, and the Wilderness had received the Family First Retention Credit. So the Bois Forte Enterprises had received $4,127,320.78 in assistance. Add that to the Bois Forte Tribal Government's total funding of $13,760,514.58. Bois Forte received total funding of tax credits to Bois Forte of $17,887,835.36. Not all this money has been spent yet, as each program has its own varying timeline and requirements, and Congress has changed some of the deadlines to spend the money. Also, this does not include any of the funds coming out of the new stimulus package that was passed at the end of December. Bois Forte was fortunate to receive other resources, such as the AEOA had assisted on 18 food distributions from June to December of 2020, providing 1,355 boxes to Vermilion and 1,191 boxes to Net Lake, for a total number of boxes of food of 2,546. Also, the Northern Lakes Food Bank has assisted with 4 distributions in Net Lake and Vermilion, assisting a total of 1,075 households over those time periods. Other things that I had not listed here was we had hams donated from another tribe. We've had potatoes donated from a farmer, and we've had masks donated from a church from Little Fork. So there are many numerous resources to help the community and the reservation make its way through the pandemic. So here is a picture of some people getting food distributions and our staff helping load up vehicles. Here is staff bagging up the potatoes to be delivered to households. As promised, here is the discussion on U.S. Treasury funds. So, we have had numerous projects that we have considered throughout the time here. And if there's a number missing, is we were going to do a project, but it has since been removed because it was rolled into another program, or we decided to reuse the funding to do something else. So here are here's the projects that we did in the amounts. So we had virtual and remote notaries to promote social distancing while providing notary services at the cost of $2,120. We have legal fees for COVID related for the tribal government of $77,313.50. All the projects and policies had to be run through legal and drafted, and there's a lot of planning going into the projects. We had a safe shelter program that promoted social distancing by encouraging people to stay home in a safe environment and reduce travel to prevent spread of the virus. And that we spent $689,680.05. Many people got appliances to stay home, such as freezers, refrigerators, or a stove, or washers and dryers. We purchased postage scales and stamps and stamp printers to reduce the amount of travel between buildings those supplies came to $2,979.04. We had to hire staff to help process some of the program paperwork for 2 programs. One was the COVID-19 Relief Fund, and for the Safe Shelter application. As the programs following the guidelines needed an application to demonstrate a need, people had to process that paperwork and have the proper documentation. We had a grants project manager to help coordinate some of the construction projects in the amount of $13,531.52. We also had to have an IT temporary worker to assist staff in IT and our other staff that were teleworking, because we had such a workload of all the new technology coming on and all the new teleworkers, and that was $16,599.68. We also helped the early childhood programs with various equipment such as hand washing stations for students and cleaning supplies for $7,404.85. The Boys and Girls Club got COVID supplies such as masks, hand sanitizer, etc. for $2,079.92. Here is one of our employees that was busily making masks for the community and staff members. Here is the mailing of some of our masks on the left-hand side, and on the right side is all the applications ready to go to be mailed for the relief program. Next we have a project. We had a contract with Lutheran Social Services of $6,640 to assist band members in counseling and manage their money during the pandemic. Next, the education department had a MacBook Pro or laptop program for college students to help with distance learning, and that was $52,489.20. Next, we had assisted Fortune Bay with the Sparkle Squad. This is the outstanding cleaning staff at Fortune Bay, and that was $113,137.96. Also for Fortune Bay, we have Pay at the Table, where patrons can pay for their bills at their table and not have to have multiple contacts with the server, and that was $25,569.48. We've also ordered sanitation cabinets to clean and sanitize the poker and blackjack chips, and that is $1,040. We have cleaning machines, the electrostatic sprayers for the casino, for $10,043.12. We covered the additional legal costs for Fortune Bay for $19,316. We've bought stanchions for Fortune Bay for crowd control and social distancing of $2,297.84. We bought the initial round of masks for Fortune Bay for $3,400. We've bought supplies for the ambulance of $4,992.60. We bought Steri-Wands and supplies for behavioral health for $3,413.39. We also bought, for the emergency response department, we purchased a bigger mass notification product called Regroup, and so we have enrolled numerous band members into our mass notification for phone, email, and text. For community health, we have purchased fridge and freezers for the food shelf building for $20,120.96. For ICWA, we have purchased webcams for their remote staff for $561.35. For the SUDS department, we paid for the meeting room expense to provide social distancing for the SUDS treatment program of $1,275. Here's a picture of some of the Sparkle Squad cleaning around Fortune Bay. Next, we purchased iPads for the Human Resources Department to promote social distancing for doing interviews. Next, the Information Technology Department purchased Office 365. The funding was used to purchase Office 365 software that teleworkers needed to communicate with coworkers. It also purchased due to its group collaboration capabilities for departments. And to cover the whole reservation, it was $61,975. Due to all the people increased telecommuting and new software programs, the server upgrade had to be installed to support all this, and that was $338,190. Also for information technology, they were purchasing laptops for IT personnel to telework and provide off-site technical help to the teleworkers, and this was $14,900.25. Due to the increased traffic on our internet systems, we needed additional bandwidth to support all the workers, so we had to purchase a fiber optic switch. This was $49,002.96. Also purchased was for telecommuting was the funding was used to purchase Vake communication systems to use for team collaboration between teleworkers and in-office employees due to COVID, and this was $48,586.68. Also due to the increased traffic on our networks and internet, we had to upgrade the communications hut and to provide for increased bandwidth. This was at a price of $168,885. We've also purchased temperature screening stations for part of prevention and for several buildings, and this is $38,330.08. Also, some more teleconferencing equipment was purchased. This funding was used to purchase Logitech team communication equipment and TVs to provide collaboration between office staff and those teleworking and reduce travel and have virtual meetings. So this was at a cost of $209,605. So here on the left is a picture of the Vibe boards that is used for collaboration, and on the right is the new telecommunications hut. Also, here's a picture of the mass donations from the church in Little Fork. And to the right, we have Charlie with the picture of Temperature Tom with the screenings, the temperature screening solutions to the left. Here is a picture of the TV and the Logitech systems to promote virtual meetings. Next, we have Netlake Schools iPads. This was to purchase iPads were purchased for the students at the Netlake Elementary School to promote distance learning, and this was a cost of $32,940. There was also additional computer equipment bought. This equipment was used to purchase laptops and desktops needed for teleworking and to provide necessary equipment for remote access for the employees. This was $44,933. Also purchased were public access points. This is to provide outdoor access points to provide high-speed bandwidth for teleworkers and distance learning children in the areas where no internet exists, and this was $26,781. Next, we assisted WELY with some equipment to provide public information, and this was $21,349.57. Next, we assisted Fortune Bay with some TV conferencing equipment to utilize for team collaboration between team members working in the office and those who were teleworking and virtual communications. This was $15,597. Next, we assisted the law enforcement by purchasing a transport vehicle. This vehicle is a van, and it has compartments in its own ventilation systems to transport prisoners to our jail, where we jail our prisoners at down in Sherburne County, which is 4 hours away. This is to provide safety for the prisoners and the law enforcement officers also. And this was $76,608.60. Next, we needed to purchase FFE, which is furniture, fixture, and equipment for the food storage building, and this came in at $53,642.99. This is the shelving and the fencing for inside the building. The next project that we did was the Bois Forte Coronavirus Relief Program, and this was a direct assistance to band members, and this was $2,102,340. Next, we had some cultural resources for mentally health, culturally based Zoom presentation for those in the urban office area. That was $1,000. Here is a picture of some of the shelving that is being installed in the fencing at the new food shelf building. Next, the Minneapolis urban office made and distributed medical kits for prevention and treatment of COVID. This was $11,336.83. Also, the Minneapolis urban office did food distributions and supplies, and this was $96,065.64 for the Metro band members. The Duluth urban office also had a food assistance program, which were gift cards to the local grocery store for $12,350. The Minneapolis office also purchased new sewing machines, and they were making masks for the hotspot areas and the homeless community, and the machines came to $4,402. Many of you received the nice box with the rice and the smudge kits in them from the Tribal Council. This was called the rice, part of it was called the Rice Project. This was the buying of the rice, of the Net Lake wild rice, having it processed, packaging it, and mailing it. And this was $139,854.53. Also in there was the smudge kit, which was the Behavior Health for Medicine Project, and that was $27,748. Next, there was computer equipment for the Net Lake School. This funding was provided the necessary equipment needed for the Net Lake School to provide distance learning between the teachers and the students. Laptops, iPads, and Vibe communication boards were purchased. This was $100,888. Next, we purchased a Laserfiche program, and this is still being worked on and being rolled out. And this is for online processing of applications for programs and credit card processing and numerous other documented workflow within the reservation. Project number 67 was dental scanners. This dental equipment is to reduce the spread of the virus and help reduce the number of visits for a patient. This is for crowns and bridges. It scans in without having to do the traditional dental mold and sending the product out. Here's a picture of the dental scanners and some of the milling machines that was purchased with the IHS Care Funding Act. So the crowns and the bridges will no longer need to be sent to another company. They will be processed on the reservation, reducing the wait time. Here's pictures of some of the beginning of the rice packaging, rice box packaging. This project was most detailed project and coordination required for this. This took many months to do this, from buying the rice to having it processed to packaging and getting it mailed out. So here we have some workers that are actually weighing out the rice and packaging them in the bags that were mailed out. And in the back corner there are some empty boxes just waiting to be packed. Next you can see, as the frenzy went on, of the amount of boxes that were packaged, and the workers in there working on feverishly to get them out to band members. Boxes were sent out to all adult band members. So we sent out in excess of 2,700 rice boxes with the smudge kits. Here's pictures of them loading up when the UPS came to pick up those boxes. It was quite a project of undertaking. Next we had an energy assistance program to help those that were not eligible for the CHAP program or are currently on energy assistance. And this was the first round of this, and this was $23,037.73. Next, we purchased a new dumpster trailer for the solid waste program. Due to the increased volume of solid waste for people because they were at home and from work and from school, there was quite a bit of wear and tear on the equipment, and we needed to purchase a new trailer. Next, it was purchased was a generator for the food shelf building, a storage building. This is so that the food, if we have issues, the food would not spoil, and we'd still have food security. The new generator was $52,514.53. The council also purchased Bois Forte logoed masks and gaiters. There was several masks and gaiters bought, and this was $69,383. Also in there is the postage to mail those out. Next, we purchased storage containers. These are shipping containers for Fortune Bay to store all their equipment and furniture that they had to remove from the casino due to social distancing. This was $11,550. Next, we had a grant that we gave to Fortune Bay for to pay for the guards that were at the temperature station. Many of you who had visited during the summer went through the temperature station at the entrance of the Fortune Bay property. There was also some other stuff, such as construction of some walls in the offices to provide social distancing, and table dividers for the blackjack and poker tables. This amounted to $88,649.76. We also purchased some furnishings for the isolation homes. There were some basic household items used to house community members that needed to quarantine or isolate from others due to the virus. This was $7,877.60. Also, there was some more telecommuting equipment needed. This funding was used to purchase laptops with built-in cameras and printers to be used by staff for teleworking purposes. This is so that if people have to be sent home but can still telework, there's resources available. This is $56,363.60. Next is some HVAC upgrades for the various buildings around the reservation to increase air exchange to slow the spread of the virus in buildings that have larger number of staff. And this was $81,745. Here's a picture of one of the Fortune Bay workers screening temperatures, and here is one of the clean machines at Fortune Bay. Next, there was some administrative costs. We had some office supplies such as envelopes and postcards for mailings, and this was $1,567.96. We also had to buy COVID supplies early on because we were not aware of all the funding we would get, and we had to respond quickly. And this included cleaning and disinfection supplies, mask material, masks, hand sanitizers, plexiglass, and some initial computer equipment. And this was $43,872.40. Also in the beginning, we did not know how our funding would flow and where our costs would come from. So we had some initial staff costs for the first month of the Turk meetings, and this was charged to the U.S. Treasury funds, and this was $12,731.22. So as of 12/31/2020, Bois Forte had spent $5,526,182.27 of the U.S. CARES Act funds. Bois Forte's allocation was $6,836,153.26. So as of 12/31, Bois Forte had a remaining balance of $1,309,970.99. The council since has approved an extension of the energy assistance program of $20,000 and also has approved the continuation of some temporary workers in the amount of $67,333.17. So Bois Forte had a remaining now has a remaining unbudgeted balance of $1,222,637.82 that needs to be spent by December 31st, 2021. The council is reassessing and determining which projects and programs they will go forth in the future, but does not have an immediate plan at this time. Thank you, and have a good day.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenna, Lehti, and I'm the General Manager for Fortune Bay Resort Casino. Today I'm going to give you a recap of the year 2020 as it pertains to the Bois Forte businesses. In March, the difficult decision was made to close the casino while keeping the Y store, the C store, and Wheelie Radio open. The 2 months that followed was a whirlwind of policy, changes, and so much unknown. In April, Fortune Bay received funding from the Paycheck Protection Program. This funding was extremely helpful because it allowed us to bring back managers and directors who could then begin work on the reopening plans. Throughout April and May, every department had to rethink how they did all aspects of their job, and I couldn't be more proud of the finished product. Because of this plan and the hard work of all employees, we had a very successful summer. We hear daily from our customers how safe they feel coming to Fortune Bay. Like this quote from John C., one of our valued customers, "Your casino is one of the cleanest places in Minnesota right now. Not only that, but people are making sure everyone wears their masks at all times. There's people on both floors constantly sanitizing, and you have really good air movement to boot. If there was a COVID Cleanliness Award, Fortune Bay would win it." I also want to take time to recognize the other Bois Forte businesses. The Y store, the C store, and Wheelie Radio all remained open throughout the year. Special thanks to Josh, Paula, Brett, and their staff for braving through that unprecedented time. Much like Fortune Bay, the Wilderness Golf Course also had to rethink its entire operation, which resulted in a safe and successful golf season. To Ryan and staff, you really hit a hole in one. In closing, I'd like to assure the Bois Forte band members that with the management team, we will continue to be diligent in our efforts to make sure that no matter what the future brings, the Bois Forte businesses are prepared to succeed. And to the entire Bois Forte family, employees and band members alike, miigwech.
Hello, my name is Miranda Lilya, and I began working as the Judicial Services Director in mid-December of 2020. We recently said see you later to our longtime Judicial Services Director, Wendy Morrison Thompson. And Wendy retired after 16 years as the previous Judicial Services Director and had a total of 39 years working for the Bois Forte Band. We wish Wendy happiness in her retirement. Our Judicial Services staff consists of 3 full-time staff. Marion Holmes is our probation officer, Janelle Smith is our guardian ad litem and court clerk, and myself. The band is represented by Benjamin Pachito from the Jacobson Law Group as our prosecutor. Heidi Drobnik of Swanson, Drobnik and Towsey is our public defender. Rebecca McConkey Green provides legal representation for the Bois Forte Family Health Services in child protection proceedings. And the Bois Forte Tribal Court is presided over by our Chief Judge, Megan Troyer. The Tribal Court's hours are from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Fridays. You can reach the court by telephone at 218-757-3462 or 218 757-0174. Last year, we continued court operations throughout the year and pandemic amid rapidly increasing caseloads. We quickly switched to Zoom hearings that adapted very well, which allowed the court to intervene quickly for court-involved families in crisis. We began holding child protection court on a separate day each month, which has made both criminal court and child protection court operate more smoothly. It has also been very helpful because we saw a rapid increase in CHIPS filings following the pandemic. We purchased the state-of-the-art case management system and began implementing it. We are scheduled to go live in February of this year. This software will allow the court cases and probation to be managed and monitored much more efficiently. We began working on the comprehensive tribal code revision, which is now pending final council approval. We began meeting regularly with the SUD staff to discuss individual cases and overall efficient provision of services for court-ordered assessments, and will soon begin discussing and developing wellness court. From October 2019 to September of 2020, the court heard 179 criminal cases, 32 civil cases, 41 traffic cases, and 20 juvenile cases, for a total of 272 cases. We look forward to a productive 2021, and if you have any questions, please contact us at the Bois Forte Tribal Court. Thank you.
Bonjour. This is Travis Vake. I am the Director of Career Development here and in charge of the Education Department for Bois Forte. This year, we are adding the Tarot Department and the Grant Writing Department into our family. We're excited about that. We're also excited to have new staff at the Boys and Girls Clubs in Nett Lake and also in Vermilion in a short time period. A couple highlights from our past year. Myself and grant specialist Doris Isham were able to secure a grant for the Boys and Girls Club from the Office of Juvenile Prevention in the amount of $178,000. This was used for a second round of laptops for our laptop program. It was also used to pack new backpacks for club members with headphones, snacks, school supplies, masks, and much more. I was also able to get a grant through Hunger Solutions and the Minnesota COVID Food Fund. This was used to purchase new Suburbans for the Boys and Girls Club, diapers, pull-ups, and wipes for community members, and also to distribute food bags to the community and to the club members. Both of those programs ended on December 31st. Scholarship-wise, we awarded 97 scholarships to students in the approximate amount of $257,000. We also had 9 band members who graduated with a variety of degrees and majors. Another program we offer, the Workforce Innovative Opportunity Act, which was formerly known as WIA, is currently in full service. Leanne Hoffman is our specialist for that, so if you have any questions on that program, please reach out to her. As far as our early childhood program goes, for 2019-2020, we served 38 Head Start families and 42 children. In early Head Start, we served 27 families and 28 children, with a total serving of 65 families and 70 children between Nett Lake and Vermilion. The Head Start and Early Head Start also received COVID money to assist with their programs and also for the families this past year. Some items purchased were PPE, sanitizer sprayers, classroom sanitizing sprayers, hand disinfecting stations, and much more. There's also a new Nett Lake Head Start playground that was done last summer. As far as the registrar goes, total vehicles registered in 2020 were 748. The CSBG grant program served 112 individuals in 35 households. That program helps with rent, car repair, and employee clothing. All were at the maximum benefit, which is $500, and that total was over $17,000 through that grant. Our energy assistance, we processed 355 applications and 81 crisis situations. The total amount of money in energy assistance provided to band members was $107,061. And finally, our Boys and Girls Clubs. The Boys and Girls Clubs offer after school and summer programming to youth ages 5 to 18. Youth can attend after school until 7 p.m. Wednesday nights from 5 to 7 is reserved for teen night for members who are 12 years and older. Club membership is not limited to the band members, but also includes the geographical area around us. A new and exciting program for the Boys and Girls Club is working collaboratively with the Rutabaga Project. This is going to provide learning opportunities and sustainable and indigenous food practices. Honor the Earth, which is a nonprofit from White Earth Nation, is providing funding for our indigenous foods garden beds, which will soon be coming to the Boys and Girls Club at both locations. A couple of grants that the Boys and Girls Club administers. There's a Office of Justice Mentoring Program grants, which is a $40,000 grant. It is an on-site mentoring for 20 members at each branch location. They also have a couple of COVID grants. One, the Red Nose Day grant, which helps with the COVID-19 response, and also the Northwest Area Foundation grant, which helps with the COVID response as well. There's also a Walmart Food Access Program grant, which is to help Native clubs evolve food programs to provide healthier foods and better meet needs and fill gaps. And finally, the Trails Grant. The Trails Grant is to provide youth with a comprehensive understanding of healthy lifestyles with the long-term goal of preventing and or reducing the onset of type 2 diabetes by implementing the Trails program, and there's a curriculum that goes along with that. We've had an exciting year in 2020. We're looking forward to 2021, and please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about the education department. Miigwech.
Good morning. My name is Joel Astleford. I'm the Director of Public Works for Bois Forte. We have 4 different departments within Public Works. We have water and sewer, we have roads, we have transit, and building maintenance for both Nett Lake and Vermilion. So I'm going to start out with the water and sewer, what we've accomplished last year. We've been extremely busy in 2020 with the building and the completion of our new water filter plant in Nett Lake. We now have a 3-stage filter system that will filter out any impurities as the wells are pumping the water to your homes and also to the water tower. We now have these systems in Vermilion, Palmquist, and Nett Lake. The Nett Lake system was brought on board on December 29th of 2020, and we want to thank Indian Health Service and the EPA for the funding for that project. The roads department was busy with pothole repairs and crack sealing. Also, the streets in Nett Lake and Palmquist were chip sealed to extend the life of the roads. We also assisted in the building of a new 100 by 100 food storage building that is located right behind the Public Works building. Roads took delivery of 2 new trucks in 2020, thanks to Doris Isham writing a grant for Volkswagen mitigation. Those trucks are a tandem axle plow truck to replace our 2012 plow truck and our lowboy tandem axle semi that will replace a 2004 truck. As far as transit goes, we're able to keep most of the routes active during the COVID pandemic. We're sterilizing buses after every route. We use a fogging system and wipe downs. Also, they've been great help in the food delivery for band members. In 2020, they started a volunteer driver program where volunteer drivers are paid mileage to drive band members to appointments. Also, the completion, we put an addition on the Public Works building, 2 stalls, which was funded by a grant by Jenny Rowland. That'll be used for keeping buses out of the weather and also for washing buses. And the building maintenance in Nett Lake and Vermilion deserve a lot of credit in 2020 for keeping COVID to a minimum, to the great job they've done wiping things down, sterilizing, going in and fumigating rooms after there's been a positive case. They've been very good about that. They've been very active in food distribution, both on and off the reservations. Ernie Bardo is the new supervisor of the Nett Lake maintenance crew. He replaced Robbie Goggleye when Robbie accepted the executive director position. And that about wraps it up. We just want to thank all of our hardworking employees of Public Works. You know, it keeps all of our departments running very smooth. It was a very challenging year and they did a great job. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Simona Benner and I'm the Human Resources Director for the Bois Forte Tribal Government, and I'm here to bring you the Human Resources update. We welcomed our recruitment and onboarding specialist in February. Our positions are now advertised on the Indeed website and also Minnesota Works website. With the new Bois Forte website came the ability to have our applications online. We started accepting online applications in October. Currently, we still accept the old application as well as the new application online. Our new hires dropped this year to 76 with 13 employees who left employment with us, 2 of which were retirements. We posted 91 job openings from January 1st to December 31st. Due to the pandemic, we had a hiring freeze for 3 months during the time frame. Only critical positions were posted and processed. New policies and procedures were implemented for the pandemic and included the unexpected and extraordinary leave, emergency sick leave, the expanded FMLA leave, and the temporary work policy. Our interviews and orientations are now done through Zoom. Employee evaluations are done through DocuSign, and within the next year we will work in doing all memos and letters via DocuSign. We had 60 employees utilizing the telecommuting agreement until the remote work policy was developed. 2 programs were placed under Human Resources this year: the Corona Relief Fund program and the Safe Shelter. Also, the remote notary was established. Our total enrollment as of December 31st was 3,568. Eligible members enrolled this year was 65. Ineligible was 26. The Bois Forte Burial Fund processed 34 full burial applications. This number does not include the miscellaneous fund that was applied for. The Bois Forte Trust Fund released 28 trust funds, and since the COVID-19 pandemic began, our identification cards were put on hold until October 4th. Now enrollment has been taking appointments for tribal IDs on Wednesdays from 12:30 to 4. Band members should keep their addresses up to date. Address deadline for the upcoming per cap disbursement is July 31st, 2021. Address updates can be done by downloading the change of address form from the Bois Forte website, or they can submit a letter to enrollment. The letter must contain the following information: name, date of birth, address, signature, and date. Any letter missing this information will result in the address not being updated. We have had some staff changes and are as followed. Dave L. Jones is our benefits coordinator. Elena Sherman, our tribal enrollment coordinator. Danelle Porter, our human resources specialist. Charlotte Jordan, recruitment and onboarding specialist. Charlie Holmes, Administrative Assistant, Crystal and Patrick, Administrative Assistant. And we look forward to working with you within the next year. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever you are taking time to view the 2021 State of the Band Address. Welcome, welcome. My name is Geshick, and I am the Director of the Natural Resource Department for the Bois Forte Band. I've been with the Natural Resource Department here in Nett Lake for almost 20 years now. I'm going to let you know a little bit about our activities for the year 2020. Much of our work in natural resources has been carried out within a context of social distancing and protection practices associated with the pandemic. It's been a real challenge keeping program moving forward since last March when COVID-19 hit the nation. Miigwech for your time, and here is a summary of 2020 for the Natural Resources Department. Water quality, which the director is Chris Holm, 2 successful wild rice years in 2019 and 2020. Wild rice acreage continues to increase, over 4,000 acres in wild rice of various densities now, up to an additional 320 acres in 2020. Revised competing vegetation removal strategies originally defined in the Bois Forte ARMP, which is Aquatic Resources Management Plan, to focus more on clearing inlets and outlets, on enhancing water flow in and out of the basin. There was no hand-parched wild rice processing performed by parching crews at Nett Lake this year due to COVID restrictions. We applied and received CARES Act funding for wild rice distribution in care packages sent to band members roughly last month. I hope you enjoyed. Dam reconstruction efforts are underway currently, coordinating planning and engineering specifications with a contracted engineering company for replacement of a rock arch dam, construction to be completed by April 2021. Site visits conducted for a tribal council was in the fall of 2020. Nett River fish passages construction failed in spring 2020. The water breach area was temporarily repaired. The fish passage construction will be dismantled and removed in 2021. New proposed dam construction is designed to allow for better fish passage. We continue to provide input for proposed Nett Lake and Vermilion construction projects in accordance with NEPA, which is the National Environmental Policy Act, as requested. Continue to develop EPA, which is Environmental Protection Agency, Section 106 Water Resources subprograms in accordance with and assistance from EPA Region 5. We continue to provide technical assistance in water, wildlife, and environmental issues to Tribal Council as requested. We continue to actively develop wild rice retail sales markets. Many new individual customers have been made, as well as new and returning business customers. The next department, Realty, which the director is Barb Rodin. Located at the Vermilion Social Center on the Lake Vermilion sector of the reservation is the Realty office. Transactions are available by appointment in Nett Lake following the COVID restrictions in buildings and personnel. Transactions are available by appointment in Nett Lake following COVID restrictions in the buildings and personnel. The OST audit is complete. That's the Office of Special Trustees out of the BIA office. We had one finding, a small clause in one file had to be corrected, which it was corrected and we passed the audit. This audit happens on an annual basis. 26 realty leases were completed, including 4 of the tiny home projects in conjunction with Bois Forte Housing. Rights of way for the fiber optic program have been complete for the IT department. For the new elderly buildings project, the leases are still in process. The sites were reviewed and the project is awaiting grant award. Deer Creek Land Research. With attorneys and MCT, which is Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, a site visit has happened with the Natural Resources crew and the executive director. This is a large project and is ongoing with a lot of research to follow. The policies and procedures need to be updated for Realty. research and a comprehensive review to combine all policies over the years, adjust and balance for complete federal guidance and organized feasibility. So those will be updated. We'll try that annually. And then 43 probate files have been processed. The next department is Environmental Services, Geshick, which I oversee also. We continue active participation with EPA, Minnesota DNR, which is Natural Resources for the state, Minnesota PCA, which is Pollution Control Agency, and the Bois Forte Tribal Council on regulatory issues of importance to the band. For instance, Line 3, wild rice sulfate standards, and MinTech permitting, cultural resources, impact issues, etc. We continue to develop and refine the Bois Forte Solid Waste Management System in cooperation with EPA and direct activities of Bois Forte Solid Waste technicians. We conducted 2 meetings with the EPA Tribal Liaison in 2020 for compliance and assistance. We continue to pursue the Bois Forte Recycling Program Agreement with St. Louis County Environmental Department. We had applied and received CARES Act funding for equipment for the solid waste and recycling programs. We coordinate and direct annually occurring Bois Forte community cleanup activities. We continue to actively participate as environmental services representatives on Bois Forte Tribal Emergency Response Committee, which is the TURC, Minnesota Tribal Environmental Committee, which is MNTEC, MNTEC, and MCT, which is the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Natural Resources Environmental Subcommittee meetings, and other various state and tribal meetings or consultations. We coordinate community health, safety, and environmental related processes and activities of the Bois Forte Reservation Conservation Officers. The next department, Forestry. Lance Hill is the Director of Forestry. Bois Forte Forestry Accomplishments. We continue to meet all of our trust responsibilities for wildland fire program management, invasives, which is pest control, example EAB, which is emerald ash borer, trap setups and monitoring, timber sales management, hazard fuel reduction and monitoring, forest health and sustainability initiatives like stand exams, inventory, and continuous forest inventory, or CFI, and timber stand improvement projects. Wildland fire protection for Bois Forte and our cooperating partners in the BIA through cooperative partnerships with outside agencies. Forestry also prides itself on they managed to work through an 8-week fire season without any COVID infections or absences. This was no small feat, considering the health crisis that was always on our heels. Bois Forte staff managed to work a combined 1,900 plus man hours without an infection or an absence. As the supervisor for forestry, Lance Hill would like to offer his thanks to his dedicated staff for their efforts. Forestry was able to secure first year's firefighting valuable fire experience in Montana, South Dakota, and Colorado during this past year. Valuable experience that will last them a lifetime. It's hard to highlight single accomplishments in forestry when the work never truly stops. It simply evolves into the next projects. But forestry is committed to responsible resource land management, and we consider ourselves to be stewards of the land for future generations of band membership. And the next department, Conservation and Enforcement. Our conservation officer is Josh Sherman. The ricing season started on September 2nd, 2020, with a few changes due to COVID-19. We ask that everyone who is getting a permit at the water quality garage to stay in their vehicle, and one staff member will help you at your vehicle. This new social distance way of issuing permits went well, with few reminders to stay in vehicles. There was one special permit issued per tribal council, one water emergency on the water this year. Total permits were 229. Students were 45. Duck hunting season. This year's 2020 duck hunting guide season opened up to all non-Indians like it always has on the first day of Minnesota waterfowl season, which was Saturday, September 26, 2020. We practiced social distancing practices this year while issuing permits for guides and hunters. It's up to the band member guide to arrange appointments with a CO for his or her party's permits. They can usually meet up at the DNR parking lot with social distancing protocols. Between September 26, 2020, and when the lake froze, we had issued 209 daily duck permits. Deer shining 2020. Shining season began on Friday, October 16th, 2020, and went through Friday, October 30th, 2020. Due to COVID-19, this year's season was extended an extra 5 days compared to previous years of 10 days. Frequent checking of hunting parties for permits and getting a general overview on how hunters are doing, successful or unsuccessful, good communication always keeps everyone safe. Thank you for your help and patience in having a safe, shining season. Moose Hunt 2020. This year's Moose Hunt opener was on September 21st, 2020. We had 5 groups that applied and qualified for tags, so we didn't have to conduct the lottery. One party out of the regular hunts did successfully harvest a moose on opening day. Congratulations. The confirmed bull was down at Wood Duck Road, 1 mile before Neck River Bridge. That concludes the State of the Band report for the Natural Resources Department. All in all, the Natural Resources staff is working hard to protect and keep the Bois Forte Band's land and natural resources here, thriving and abundant for generations to come. If you have any questions about natural resources or any sub-departments, water quality, realty, environmental services, forestry, or conservation and enforcement, please don't hesitate to call. Here's to the new year, 2021, and have a very blessed day, and we'll see you again. Goggleye.
June dinaway magani do in sa veva mashan indigo. Speaking as Agagun into Juba Dame. So my name is Jaylen Strong. I'm the Bois Forte Heritage Center and Cultural Museum Director here for the tribal government. And this is my State of the Band updates for this fiscal year. So unfortunately we were impacted quite a bit by COVID. We ended up having to shut from March until June, and that affected some of our sales and our foot traffic that was going through as part of our strategic plan. So unfortunately those weren't met, but we're hoping to bounce back whenever COVID kind of settles down and we're actually able to get a hold of it. In a way to counteract that, one of the things that we did was try to move all of our events online. So one of the things that one of the events was a language class. So it was a 6-week language class that was for beginners, that was held on Zoom during the after work basically. And so that was pretty nice. We had people ranging anywhere from within the community all the way to, we had a couple people join from Hawaii and some from the northeast coast. Otherwise, another event that we've been doing continuously is the culture classes with Gene Goodsky, and those are on Thursdays at 3 p.m. This was like his idea. He just asked if we could help out, and we're more than happy to oblige. You can check a lot of those videos out on our Facebook page. Another thing that we're trying to get started for this next year is being able to get going on this language grant through the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, and I want to thank Shane Drift for kind of getting the ball rolling on that. And it's going to be hopefully in response to the language surveys that get sent back to us, kind of trying to meet those expectations and those needs. So if you remember, before Christmas, when the tribe sent out those boxes, they also included a language survey with a pre-stamped envelope in it. Please send those back to us, and that's going to better help us get a hold of what the community and what our enrolled members want to do with the language. In addition to that, we're also trying to have the background for a strategic plan in place and created for language revitalization within the community, and hopefully being able to extend that to the urban areas. And that's mostly it for the Heritage Center side. I guess one thing that I would like to say is that we've been having kind of some sales going on. Like the one currently is it's a trivia kind of game where you can come in, you can go through the museum if you'd like. I'd recommend it. A lot of the questions are based off of what you can find in the museum, but you don't have to go through if you don't want to. And basically, the more answers you get right, the higher percentage you get off. And then the second part of the Heritage Center division is the Tribal Historic Preservation Office. And so the biggest projects that we are working on right now is Twin Metals, that's up in the Boundary Waters, or at least near the Boundary Waters, Enbridge's Line 3, the Polymet Mine kind of out by Vake, and then a school trust land exchange project that's happening between the Superior National Forest and the Minnesota DNR. And updates for those 3 or 4, I'm going to give really kind of quickly. Twin Metals is kind of one of the biggest issues going on. That one's still in the planning phase, so we have a lot more control over that. And it's also on a mix between federal and state lands. Line 3 is kind of already in motion. We're kind of monitoring it as it's getting built, and then we're also looking for tribal monitors to be able to go up and help out with that and kind of hold those workers accountable, hold those people accountable on our traditional lands. Polymet, we're working on a possible plan to continue to use and utilize the traditional sugar bush that used to be within that property. And then the school trust land exchange is exchanging of land titles basically between the Superior National Forest and the Minnesota DNR. And basically why that's important for us is that as a TIPO, we don't have as much of a control over state lands as we do federal lands. There's a whole process in federal land projects, and so that's something that's really important for us to be consultants on. And other than that, if you have any other questions, you can feel free to contact me either by email, jaylen.strong@boisfort-nsm.gov, or you can give us a call at 218-753-6017. Thanks.
I'm Dan Milbridge, the Director of Health and Human Services, and I'll go through a brief overview of the accomplishments within Health and Human Services. COVID-19 threw a wrench into all departmental operations. With that being said, I am pleased to say our staff did an outstanding job of providing services given the constraints of the pandemic. We obtained a significant amount of federal and state funding for the pandemic to assist us in purchasing equipment, supplies, and personal protective equipment to help us serve our patients and clients. The Behavioral Health Department could feel the stress of the pandemic through their clients. Isolation was an issue that triggered depression. As our providers were removed from their offices and set up shop in their own homes, we were able to continue to deliver valuable mental health services through computer visits. We added therapists and have grown our ability to provide services to those in need. The department became creative, offering education sessions through Zoom application, which included smudge teaching and 7 grandfathers teaching series. We added staff to our billing department to make sure that we are diligent in collecting revenue from the insurance companies in a timely manner. The clinic responded to the pandemic by jumping from virtual patient visits at the beginning of the pandemic to opening gradually, adding face-to-face visits as we determined it was safe for patients and staff. COVID testing was started and continues today. For the vaccine, we are working through a priority list as approved by the Tribal Council. Please be patient waiting for the vaccine as we don't control the amount that we receive. When we do receive them, we try to get them into arms as quickly as possible as we don't control the amount of vaccine that we receive. And we're still seeing patients regularly in the clinic and administering COVID tests. Nurse practitioner Brandon Anderson joined our medical team, and he happens to be a Bois Forte descendant. In dental, we welcomed our new dentist, Dr. Peggy Stepan. She has been very well received. The pharmacy has added 3 on-call pharmacists to cover vacations, which allows us to keep both pharmacies open. Our lab acquired the rapid COVID test equipment quicker than most clinics in the country. The compliance program continues to evolve, ensuring the regulatory and privacy integrity of all of our programs. Community health played an important role in the community by providing ongoing pandemic education, contact tracing, case investigation, and other essential services for those who were infected with COVID. Other staff jumped in the kitchen to help out on the Vermilion side, so we had no interruption in elder meals. The elderly nutrition program was able to deliver meals to the elders in their homes when we could no longer provide them in the congregate dining format at the centers. When the cooks were sent home for their safety by their funding agencies, other staff from Health and Human Services stepped up to do the cooking. Mavis Drift came out of retirement to continue leading that program. In our food distribution program, Wendy and Dwayne made adjustments in their process to allow for drive-up, open your trunk loading. This provided safety to the clients and the staff. We even introduced fresh eggs into the program, which gained quick popularity. The fitness centers experienced closings and partial closings. Thankfully, our fitness center staff showed off their cooking skills in the kitchen by cooking at Net Lake for our elders. Our Indian Child Welfare and Victim Services programs saw a slight decrease in activity, which is a good direction for us to move, although one case is too many. We are always looking for band members, foster homes for placement of our children. Our SUDS program contracted with mental health therapists and therapeutic massage therapists this year to provide services to those in our outpatient treatment program. We took over property management responsibility at New Moon. We also obtained increased funding for family homeless prevention and assistance program. I would like to thank our Health and Human Services staff once again for their hard work over this unprecedented year, and the Tribal Council and Robbie for their support. Miigwech.
Hello everyone, my name is Randy Long, the IT and KBFT radio director for Bois Forte. The Bois Forte IT team consists of the director, manager, network engineer, and 2 IT specialists. The KBFT radio station is headed by George Strong, the program manager, and he has 3 staff members that help him run the radio station. Our team supports all tribal government operations and programs. Our responsibilities of the IT and KBFT departments include both, but are not limited to the architecture, hardware, software, networking, surveillance, and telecommunication systems of the tribal government. This has been a challenging year for IT and KBFT as we had to prepare and adjust our daily operations to handle an increased amount of teleworkers and distance learning activities throughout the reservation. Nonetheless, our technological enhancements and achievements this past year, I feel, have been excellent. I will start by reviewing the past year's grants, awards, followed by telecommunications, software, and finally, some of the COVID-19 projects that IT was involved with throughout the tribal government programs. This past year, the IT and KBFT department was successful in multiple grant opportunities. This year, we received approximately $2.3 million to start a complete fiber optic to the home network for the reservation. We were fortunate to receive funding from the Shakopee, Metawakan, Sioux community, the IRRB, and the state of Minnesota border-to-border grant. The IT department was successful in putting together the 105L lease payback program with Indian Health Services, which subsidized healthcare for providing services throughout Bois Forte's own buildings. Total revenue brought in is close to $1.4 million. The IT department was successful in obtaining a blind and community grant totaling approximately $125,000. And what this program was for was broadband advocacy for the Bois Forte Reservation, the City of Orr, and the City of Cook. The IT department was also successful in obtaining $10,000 from Enbridge Energy, which was used to buy an enclosed trailer to disperse food for the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving on to telecommunications, the Bois Forte IT department is in the design and implementation stage of its fiber to the home project. This project will bring high-speed bandwidth via fiber optics to every household on the reservation. Bois Forte is contracted with CNS Cooperative Network Services out of Monongah, Minnesota, to design and implement the fiber project. We've also partnered with CTC Communications out of Greiner to manage the installation of the project. Construction is still scheduled to begin late spring of 2021. But due to COVID, some of our availability of our fiber and some of our parts for this project are still on hold. We're still anticipating the start project though of late spring. Bois Forte has worked with AT&T Mobile on several of its telecom sites to upgrade the existing cellular equipment in preparedness for a 5G rollout next year. Tower and locations affected will be the Bois Forte Forestry Tower, which is a T-Mobile tower, Blacklock Trail, which is out by the Net Lake Police Department, which is a T-Mobile and AT&T tower, Fortune B Water Tower, which only has AT&T, and the WEOY Tower in Ely, which is an AT&T tower. The Bois Forte IT department was successful in acquiring the 2.5 gigahertz spectrum above the tribe's lands this past year from the FCC. This acquisition will allow Bois Forte to customize wireless equipment on its own frequency and can be used for various wireless and or cellular activities. Bois Forte IT worked with Nokia this past year to develop and design our own 5G wireless implementation based upon the 2.5 gigahertz frequency we obtained from the FCC. Now, we haven't found funding for this, but we are currently seeking it and hopefully can find it this year so Bois Forte can actually roll out a true high-speed wireless service throughout the reservation. We've been working with Baycom Communications out of Minneapolis in hope to design and implement a complete radio network that will involve public works, transit, forestry, the ambulance, and various other departments. Moving on to software. The IT department has researched and reviewed several software programs needed to assist the ever-growing programs of the tribal government. Some of the programs that we reviewed and are implementing are the full court software program that we use to support the tribal court and ICWA programs of the tribal government. We have recently just put in Improvada. Improvada is a software program that is based on electronic prescribing of controlled substances and how the health providers prescribe medicine or narcotics and stuff through our EPIC network. We are looking at implementing, or actually in this implementation stage of implementing Laserfish, an online document management system used to support off-site teleworker access to our documentation. Dentrix Enterprise, which is an upgrade to our existing Dentrix Core software platform used to maintain our dental health records. And this past year and ongoing, we are moving to Office 365, an online-based software program that supports Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and our hosted Exchange email. Moving on to some of our COVID-19 projects. Due to COVID, the Bois Forte IT department has taken on several projects intended to upgrade the existing infrastructure throughout the Bois Forte tribal government and its programs. This past year, we worked with the Net Lake School to upgrade its infrastructure. We purchased 60 iPads for the students, approximately 10 computers for the teachers, and we placed 6 Vibe communication whiteboards in each classroom, which aided the teachers and the students for distance learning. We are currently working with UHL, which is an HVAC company out of Duluth. HVAC meaning heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. Our goal is to upgrade all current HVAC systems that support the tribal government buildings so we can better regulate the heat and air quality throughout all of our buildings, especially important during the COVID crisis. Throughout the tribal government, the administration offices, HR, DNR, and EPA, IT purchased various laptops and printers needed to ensure that teleworkers have adequate equipment to provide services from their homes. We are working with a Laserfish company. IT is currently developing a document management system needed to ensure availability to critical data and make sure that it's accessible for all of our teleworkers and even our on-site employees. We purchased various Logitech team video conferencing equipment used for communication purposes throughout all of our departments. This equipment provides one-on-one communication or provides team communication through single devices connected to a TV or monitor. We also worked with WOY Radio out of Ely to upgrade its current transmitter and do some repairs to the radio station itself. We placed several outdoor access points throughout the reservation and tied them into our existing fiber optic network. This was due to multiple children within the reservation not having access to high-speed internet. These outdoor access points are placed strategically throughout the reservation in location where there's a large amount of houses that were in need of internet service for children. We placed several temperature testing equipment within the entry points of most of our buildings. These are automatic temperature testing equipments where you just simply walk up to it, place your head within a designated area, and it tells you whether or not your temperature is high or not. We replaced the current telecommunication hut below the Nett Lake Police Department. Our current telecommunication hut was not capable of supporting the necessary equipment we need to enhance Bois Forte services. We worked with a native contractor, Mike Bass, to install a new telecommunication structure below the Nett Lake PD tower. This new structure will house the Nett Lake PD repeater, forestry repeater, border patrol repeater, St. Louis County 911 repeater, and KBFT repeater. We plan on relocating the KBFT repeater, which currently resides on the Nett Lake Water Tower. And we're going to put it on the Nett Lake PD tower this upcoming summer and hope to have it live by mid-July. What we're going to do is bring their signal from approximately 1,000 watts up to 10,000 watts, increasing their signal probably by about up to 40 miles. Moving on to KBFT. KBFT continues to provide its on-air programs and continues to support local artists through its grant funding. Although due to COVID, live programs and services have been kept to a minimum. We are anxiously awaiting the end of COVID, and we can continue to provide live programs and services to the public at that time. So, thank you everyone. Gwitch.
Bonjour, this is Jackie Wilson with the Bois Forte Urban Office in Minneapolis. We serve over 450 adults and their children in the 7-county area. This past year, we've had to make changes as well as everybody else. I would like to send many, many thanks to the volunteers that have been helping with the mask making we've been doing here at the Urban Office. Because of the generosity of their time and care, Arlene and Loretta Chosa, Barb Little, Juanita Espinoza, Lynn Tiger, Carmen Robles, and Lorraine Bellinger have been able to provide masks for our tribal members that come to the building to pick up food or other services. The masks are sewn here at the office, as well as some of them being picked up and dropped off to lessen contact. We've been doing this since the beginning of April, and we estimate that we've made approximately 5,000 masks, and we're still making more. The pandemic is here for a while, and we're going to keep fighting to keep people healthy. The Urban Office has had the opportunity to work with Nina Solis for the past year. It's been an exciting experience. WEX is a work experience program that helps people gain experience to increase their employability and also help us out here too. So thanks, Nina. The Minnesota Chippewa Tribe building, where we're located, has been officially closed since April 2020. It's been challenging to work with our tribal members this past year. We've been doing more phone, Facebook Messenger, emailing, and texting as much as we can. Although people still have to come to the building when necessary, we appreciate the patience our tribal members have been showing through all of this. Networking in Zoom. Working through locked doors is challenging and even sometimes depressing. On the happy note, though, I found that participating in Zoom meetings enables me to participate in more meetings while being at my office. Because of the travel in the inner city, it would take me more time to travel back and forth to meetings and so I wasn't able to attend as many. So that's one good thing about it, and I hope that Zoom continues. Medicine bags are one of the projects we did down here. The medicine bags, they contained cough drops, cough syrup, Pedialyte powder, tea, honey sticks, thermometer, and 2 masks that we made here at the building. I'm very proud that we were able to provide them to as many tribal families and individuals as possible. Part of our stay home, stay safe desire for our tribal members. Providing food boxes to our tribal families has been a large undertaking and wonderful time. We got to see many of our tribal members, some we've never met. Of course, we tried to practice safe distancing as much as possible. We also started the Tuesday food drop again in June, and we continue to do so. We also have some food, especially for elders in the urban area, as well as 50 elders enrolled in out-of-state tribes. So if you know of any urban area elders, please have them contact me. We don't know if we'll continue to get such generous donations or not, and the reason we can accept such items as frozen meals, walleye, and ground buffalo for elders is because we have a large walk-in freezer and refrigerator in our building. Our tagline for the urban office continues to be Negan Indija. I am moving forward. But in addition to that, this year has proven to be that we are nothing without each other. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Theresa Morrison, the Housing Director of the Bois Forte Housing Department. It's been a very challenging year in our department. With COVID, we have not been able to do our regular maintenance in our occupied homes. We'd like to keep all of our community members safe. We have completed 12 turns and 12 families have moved in. We have 9 units that are almost ready for occupancy, and we have 17 families that are on the waiting list. Our office team has done an outstanding job of completing our waiting lists and getting our paperwork complete, working around the challenges of COVID. We have instituted a new application process that makes it simpler to apply. You can get our applications offline at the Bois Forte website. One of our newest initiatives has been for us to complete a tiny home project. We call them the tiny homes because they're 3 one-bedroom modular home units. We have one available in Nett Lake, one available at Indian Point, and one available in Vermilion. These homes were constructed with the idea that initially they would be available for quarantine and isolation homes for individuals that are affected by COVID. After COVID, these homes will be available for individuals who are between the ages of 18 and 55. It's a demographic that we have not been able to meet the needs of. We are currently accepting bids for an electrical project that will make our homes safer. We are also looking for bids for a renovation for a unit that was affected by a fire, and we are currently also accepting bids for roofing and jobs that need to be done over the summer. So in conclusion, we are looking forward to working and providing safe, livable homes for our community. Thank you.
Bonjour from the Duluth Urban Office. While we spent most of 2020 adapting to the changes the current pandemic created, our office remained open with a hybrid model. I was in the office providing essential support to local band members by practicing social distancing and by connecting with other band members virtually. One of the main objectives of the Duluth Urban Office is to provide local band members with up-to-date resources, which includes local as well as tribal, and helping guide them in accessing these resources. We also offer support services, but that varies and is based on each individual's needs. Some have physical mobility issues or lack transportation, which may require food shelf deliveries or getting the necessary paperwork or documentation for accessing these programs. This takes quite a bit of coordination and advocacy. Meanwhile, others may need help applying for jobs, look for housing, or a little help navigating other programs and services. In addition to providing those services, the Duluth Urban Office provides free notary services, on-site tribal IDs, free copying, printing, scanning, or faxing services, and the use of a computer when we are open to the public. I am happy to report the Duluth Urban Office was able to provide emergency food assistance to all area band members with funding from our tribal government. This helped folks offset the increase cost in retail pricing, and for some, help put food on the table in the times of job loss. The Minnesota Department of Human Services and Minnesota Board on Aging also donated breakfast food boxes and other food boxes to local elders. Bois Forte became an administrator for the statewide Minnesota COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program. This allowed Duluth Urban Office to assist Duluth area band members and non-band members apply for the program. Applicants that met program guidelines were assisted in paying past due rent, past due mortgages, or past due utilities that occurred due to the pandemic. Many local band members accessed this funding and were able to remain housed because of it. In collaboration with other Bois Forte programs who donated items such as traditional medicine kits, which included sweet grass and sage, coloring and activity books, masks and hand sanitizer, we were able to ensure all local band members received these items, which helped many of us get through a very challenging time. Due to the current pandemic, we had to cancel our bi-monthly community meetings, our culture-based events such as the moccasin making or regalia making classes, and our annual August picnic, and our annual Elders Holiday dinner in December. However, I believe 2021 will be a much better year for us, and we are definitely looking forward to getting back to some normalcy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at future events. Miigwech, Wendy.
Okay, thank you, directors, for your update and address to the band. At this time, we'll be closing the ceremony out. Want to thank you guys for watching the state of the band, and do your best to social distance, wear your mask, stay safe out there. Together we'll get through this. Thank you.